Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Hanson and we're back with a brand new video. So today I'm going to show you guys how to create a simple transcript command. So if you guys have seen my if you guys have watched my Ticketbot tutorial, pretty much the thing I didn't do is I didn't show you guys how to I didn't do a lot of stuff in that video. I kind of just covered how like the basic ticket bot system would work and how you can implement one. But of course, you can always extend it to your needs, such as adding a database, adding transcripts. But anyways, I'm going to show you guys how this whole transcript thing is going to work. So right now I have an HTML file that has all of the messages in one channel. This is 500 and I think 69 messages. I don't know, at 467 I think. But you can check how many messages the channel has. If you just do Control F, you press enter, you can see 570. Okay. Now, one thing I will mention is do not use this command for like a channel that has like over, I would say, 300, 400 messages, because and especially don't do this if don't do this like periodically, or not periodically, but don't do this like all in one go, because you will get banned from the gateway and you won't be able to actually access their REST API or their platform. And I'm not going to be responsible if you guys do get banned because you abuse this. So definitely use this with caution. Okay, don't use this for channels that you know have a lot of messages, and by a lot I mean like a lot, like over at least like 300, 400. The whole intention of this video is to use this for a channel, for like for a ticket channel. Okay, so if you've seen my video on how to create a ticket bot, you know that basically once you react to a message, the bot creates a channel for you, and that channel is basically what I'm talking about. Okay, so you should use that transcript for just that channel itself. Okay, and yeah, anyways, so let's go ahead and get started. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna say if message.author.bot, we're just gonna return. Don't wanna handle messages sent from bots. And then we're just gonna do if message.content.to lowercase equals dash transcript, whatever your command prefix is. And the nice thing again about this whole tutorial is that it does not depend on other tutorials. So you don't even need to watch my ticket bot tutorial to understand what's going on. But of course, this is something that you can add to your ticket bot to implement if you want. Okay, so what I'm doing is whoops, didn't mean to do that. So whoops, okay. That's just for deleting the message afterwards. You don't really need that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a new collection. So let's just say let's message collection equal new discord.collection. So this is the Discord JS's collection class. We're going to use this, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fetch the messages in that channel. So to do that, we're going to say let channel messages equal. So I'm actually going to use async await. So I need to make sure this callback function is an asynchronous function in order to use await. So we add the async keyword in front of the message parameter, which means that it's now an asynchronous function. Okay, and we're going to say await message.channel.fetch messages like this. Okay, so fetch messages returns a promise which resolves a collection of all the messages that were fetched in the channel. The limit is 100. I mean, the max messages you can fetch in one channel is 100. Okay, so obviously that's not enough. If a channel, let's say, if a channel has like 150 messages, then it's not going to get all the messages. So we want to make sure we're getting all of the messages. Okay, so that's the reason why we're going to go ahead and use a loop, right? Okay, so what we're going to do is now we have all the messages in the channel. So if I go ahead and do console.log channel messages.size. So let me go ahead and run this bot real quick. So I'm just hold on. Just get into my directory. We're in the transcript bot. All right, so let me just log in. So my bot is logged in, and let me go into a channel that doesn't have that many messages. So this one, transcript. So how much this has? 75. And you can see right over here, 75 messages, just like that. Okay, awesome. So now we know that we have all those messages. So the thing is, we actually need to, so the way the messages are received or stored in the collection is they're actually from, how do I show you? Hold on. I want to show you how the messages are actually stored. So, because what I'm about to do next, it will make sense. But let me see how I can, well, let me just say this. So basically, we have this collection of messages that were fetched, right? Right now, the messages are fetched in, I guess they're fetched like backwards, if that makes sense. So for example, the first message in that collection will be this message, then it's gonna be this, it's gonna be this, and it's gonna be this, right? So when we parse it into the HTML file, it's gonna look like it's gonna go from latest message to earliest message, right? So for example, this message will be first, and then let's say this is the last message that was fetched. This will be all the way on the bottom. But we want to make sure it's like an actual chat. It goes from earliest message to the latest message. Okay, so we're gonna need to reverse the entire collection. Okay, but before we do that, like I said, we need to make sure we're fetching the other messages as well. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and put all of this message collection that I created is going to store all of the messages that are fetched. Okay, so channel messages over here, what we're going to do is we're going to say message collection equals message collection dot concat, and we're going to basically join the channel messages collection, the first 100 messages that we fetched, with this collection over here. And what we're going to say is we're going to have a loop now. So we're going to say while let's see, channel messages dot size is equal to 100. Okay, so basically every single time we fetch messages, right? If the collection is 100, right? If it's 100, then that means there is possibly going to be more messages, because that means that all the other messages were probably not fetched. Okay, so if it's equal to 100, what we're going to do is we're going to get the last message that was fetched. So to do that, we're going to say let last message ID equals, and we're going to say channel messages. We're going to get the last key, which is the ID, right? Because the message collection is mapped by the ID. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to say channel messages, and then we're going to fetch the next set of 100 messages. So we're going to say await message dot channel dot fetch messages, and then we're gonna specify the limits. Whoops, it's gonna be a limit, and then we're gonna specify before. So this means that fetch messages before a certain ID, which is why we need that message ID of the last message that was actually fetched. Okay, and I'm just gonna do a catch because we're not using try catch, so I'm just gonna catch my error. Log error. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say message if channel messages. Then we're going to take the message collection, which is going to hold all the messages. Okay. And we're going to say message collection dot concat. Now, it's important to know that the dot concat method doesn't modify the original collection, so it actually returns a new collection. So we need to assign that to the message collection variable. But we're going to concatenate the current message collection with the new messages. Okay, and that should be it for now. Okay, all right. So of course, let's say for example, if this next fetch only fetched, let's say I don't know, 50 messages, it's gonna check. Okay, is the size of channel messages equal to 100? It's not. So that means we're done. We fetched all the messages already, so we don't need, so we can exit this while loop. Okay, awesome. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna say, let's see, we're gonna say let messages equal. So we're gonna take the message collection, because remember right now this is in reversed order, like it goes from the latest message to earliest. Okay, but we want it to go from earliest to latest. So we're gonna need to reverse that entire collection. So we're going to, I don't think, yeah, there's no actual reverse method for the collection, I think. Yeah, I don't think there is. So, well, I mean, I think you can sort it in reverse order. But instead, I'm just going to say array dot array. So we're gonna transform the collection into an array, and we're just going to use the reverse function on the array, and that's going to store it into this messages variable, which is going to be an array of messages now instead of a collection of messages. Okay, but that's fine. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna say let mapped messages. We're actually, no, we don't need to do this part. We can just skip that. Okay. All right. So now the next part is going to be a bit tricky because you kind of need to know a little bit of HTML and just a little bit of CSS. But basically what we want to do is we have all these messages and we need to parse them. We need to basically dynamically create HTML elements and, pretty much parse them in an HTML file. Okay, so if you don't understand HTML or CSS, don't worry so much about it. But basically what I'm going to do is I have a template over here. So I'm going to just copy this and put this right over here. We're going to call this template.html. Let's paste this. So basically right over here we have a style tag. Okay. And this contains all of the CSS style that we're going to use to make our messages look like actual Discord messages. It's not going to be 100% exact, but if you are good with HTML and CSS, I would suggest you modify this to your own needs. Okay, but we have all of our styles in this template.html, and what I'm going to do is we're going to basically take these styles and we're going to write it to a new file, and I'll explain why. So before we do that, since we need to work with the file system, we're going to require fs, and I'm going to use the promise API, the promise version of fs. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and say, let's see, await fs.read file. Or actually, I need the actual content, so we're going to say let data equal await fs.read file, and we're going to do /template.html. And then we're just going to do UTF-8 for the encoding, and that should be fine. We're going to catch error console.log error. And we're going to say if data. Now we're going to go ahead and say await fs.write file. We're going to write all the content that we read from the template.html file to the index.html file. The reason why we're doing this is because what I want to do is I want to make sure that the HTML file that's being generated has those CSS styles first. Okay, and that's what we're doing over here. We're reading the data, we're reading all of this stuff, all the content from template.html, and we're going to write it to a new index.html file. Okay. All right, so once that's done, if I go into here, let's just do transcript, you're going to see an index.html file was generated, and it has all the stuff written from template.html, just like that. Okay. Awesome. All right, so now that we've done that, what we need to do next is we need to go ahead and create dynamic, well, not really dynamic, but we need to create elements that we can add to the DOM or the HTML file. Now, since our environment is we're using Node, we don't actually have we do have access to the document object, which is a global object, but it's actually going to end up being null. So we're going to use a module called JSDOM to manipulate, well, not really manipulate the DOM, but we're going to use it to create elements, and then we can write those elements to an HTML file. So it's going to work perfectly. All right, so we're going to say const JSDOM equals require, we're going to require JSDOM, and then we're going to go ahead and say const JSDOM. So we're going to get just the JSDOM class. Actually, no, we're just going to create, we're going to do equals JSDOM. And then, let's see, what are we going to do next? we're gonna go ahead and say const dom equal new JS dom. Okay, so we're gonna create an instance of the JS dom, and then we're gonna go and say const document is now equal to dom.window.document. So it's gonna work like the actual browser's document API. Okay. All right. Cool. So now what we want to do next is we're gonna go ahead and say let guild element. So this is going to store the guild information on the top. So we're gonna say document dot create element. We're gonna create a div. Okay. And then I'm gonna say let guild text equals document dot create text node. So I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know too much about I'm not really too great with manipulating the DOM personally. Like I do know how to do like some basic stuff with it because I've done it before, but I'm not like super professional with it. So I'm gonna try my best to explain everything as much as possible. But let me just write this out first, and then I'll explain what I'm doing. So, what I'm doing first is I'm basically creating an element. Okay, so if you want to read more about this, just go to the docs and just do document.createElement. But basically, it allows you to create an HTML element, okay, specified by the tag name. So in HTML, you have a div tag, which is like a container that can hold other stuff in it. So we basically want to hold, things like, text, images, and stuff like that. Okay, so since I want to hold text inside this div, I'm going to go ahead and create a text node. Okay, and I also want to hold an image because I want to hold the guild's icon. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to reference this guild image variable, and we can call the set attribute because what I want to do is I want to set the image to the message.guild.icon URL like that. So that's going to display the icon of the guild. Okay, and I want to set the width of it. So we're gonna say guild image.set attribute width, and of course you could do all this inside like a CSS file, but I'm not going to for now. Okay, and the next thing we want to do is we want to append both of these nodes, the text node, and we want to append this element to the guild element. So we're basically inserting text and an image inside this one div. Okay, so we're gonna do guild element append child because these are children of the div element. So we're gonna insert the we're gonna insert the image first, and then we're gonna insert the text. So guild text like this. Okay. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm also going to use fs to now append the content to the index.html file. So we're gonna go ahead and say append index.html, and we're gonna do guild elements dot outer HTML. Okay, so if you've worked with HTML before, let me just show you in just a sec. Okay, so I'm gonna just console log guild element because it's gonna look exactly like HTML, so it shouldn't be any surprise. So let's go. We actually need to hold on, give me 1 second. I need to install JS DOM again because I don't have it in this project folder. Just give me a sec for that. Okay, so let me run nodemon.js. Okay, so let's go ahead and try that again. Okay, so you can see we have some HTML. You can see we have a div, right? Let me just zoom in a little bit. We have a div, we have the image source. The source is null because this server doesn't have an icon, okay? And then width is equal to 150, okay? So if you look at the index.html over here, you can see that we have our HTML over here that was written to the HTML file, okay? All right, so cool. Now that we have that part done, we then need to go ahead and append every single message to this HTML file dynamically, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and say, let's see, we have messages. We're gonna reference this array now because we're gonna go through every single message object inside that array. So we're gonna say messages dot for each message. And what I want to do is we're gonna go ahead and create a parent container. So we're gonna say let parent container equal let's see, document.create element div. So we're creating a div. Okay, so this is going to be the main div that's going to hold all of our chats, our chat messages. Okay, and I'm actually going to give this div a class name, and I already have the class name written already inside the template.html. So the parent container should have these styles. Okay. All right. So now that we've given the class, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and create another div to hold the avatar. So we're going to say let avatar div equal document.create element, and this is going to be a div, of course. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and say avatar div.class name is going to be avatar dash container, and I have the CSS written for that already. And if you see over here, you can see avatar has a border radius of 50%, so it's going to be a circle, and the height and width is going to be 50-50. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and create an image. So I'm going to say let image equal document.create element. We're going to create an image like that. Now that we have an image, we're going to go ahead and say image set attribute, and we're going to set the source of that to the message author. Okay, so remember this messages array is an array of all of the message object. Okay, so we're going to say message dot author, and we're going to do the URL. So we're going to say display avatar URL. And then we're going to set the class to avatar. Well, I actually showed you the other one. So avatar container. Oh, do I not have avatar container? I guess I didn't write it, but I guess I didn't really need it too much anyways. Okay, that's fine. All right, so now the next thing to do is we're going to add our image to the div. So we're going to say avatar div.append child, and we're going to append the image element. Okay, and then what we're going to do next is we're going to reference the parent container variable, which is the parent div, and we're going to append the div avatar element by saying append child avatar div, just like that. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to create another element. So we're going to say let message container. This is going to hold the message. It's going to hold two things. It's going to hold the user's username, the date and the time, and the actual message. So we're going to create another div. I'm saying document.create elements div. I know I'm really inconsistent with the quotes. I keep using double quotes and single quotes, which is pretty bad, but for now it's going to be okay. So we're going to create, we're going to give this a class name of message container. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and create the text for the user's username and the date time. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say let name element equal document.create element, and this is going to be a span. Okay, I can just type. Oh my god, this keyboard's so annoying. Okay, and then I'm gonna say let name equal document.create text node, and this is going to be the user's username. So we're gonna say message.user.tag, and we're gonna go ahead and do the date time. So we're gonna say message. I think created at is the correct. Yeah, created at. Yep. So created at, and then what we're going to do is we're going to say, this is a dates object, so we're going to say to date string to get the actual dates, concatenate it with to local time string. And I'm going to say plus EST because I'm on Eastern Standard Time. And then we're just going to say name element append child because we want to append the text node that we created. So we're going to append name, and then now we're going to reference message container, and we're going to append the name elements. Okay, All right, so this next part is just going to handle text code blocks. So if you have a message that starts with the backticks, it's going to handle it. So you don't really need to worry. You don't have to handle this if you don't want to, but I'm going to do so. So we're gonna do is we're gonna say if message.content dot starts with, and this might not always be accurate, but you can do 3 backticks. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna say let m equal message dot content dot replace, and we're gonna pass in a regular expression to match all of the backticks, and we're just gonna replace it with just an empty string, and we're gonna create a code element just like this, and I'm gonna say code. I'm gonna say let text node equal document dot create text node. So this is going to hold the actual message content. So we're just gonna pass an m because this is where we replace the backticks. And then we're just going to do code node dot append child text node like that, and then we're going to reference message container, not collection container. We're going to append child, and we're going to append the code node element. And else, if it doesn't start with backticks, we can just go ahead and create a simple span. Create a simple text node, create text node, and this is going to be message.content, and then we're going to append the text node to message node, and then reference message container like this, and then just append message node. Okay. All right, cool. So the last thing we gotta do is we gotta append all of this crap inside the parent container. So we're just gonna append the message container. So far all we've done was we created the elements to hold the message. Okay. And the last thing we have to do is we just need to say await fs.append file. And then we're gonna reference index.html. And then we're gonna say parent container dot outer HTML, and we'll just catch the error if there is an error, but there shouldn't be. All right, yeah, I know this is a whole bunch of stuff that I wasn't really that I didn't really talk about. So yeah, also actually there's one thing that I need to do that I forgot to mention. Okay, so there's one problem here is right now we're using for each, and we're also handling asynchronous code inside for each. So there's actually going to be an error. So let me show you guys. You see, yeah, see, we're trying to handle await inside here, but even if I add the async in here, because for each is synchronous, we actually need to write an asynchronous version of for each. So let me just show you what happens right now if we do this. So if I do transcript. Okay, and you're gonna see that tag of undefined. Why is that? Oh, it's message.author. Sorry. So try this again. Transcript. Okay, so this should open up index.html. We should have all of the stuff here. If there isn't any problem, then it should be okay, I guess. But yeah, you can see that there's a problem with the image. Why is there a problem with the image? I think I know why. Did I ever specify the avatar? Well, it's a message.author.display avatar URL. Let me actually check the docs real quick. And I know, guys, I didn't really explain too much about the whole HTML part because I personally, like I said, I personally don't work with HTML too much. Display avatar URL. Okay, we gotta change this to caps. But I personally don't work with the DOM API much, so I can't really explain too much of it. But just know that you can use the document API to dynamically create elements, dynamically manipulate the DOM if you need. Okay, and I will leave a link in the description for the code for all this crap. So, but yeah, don't worry so much about it though. Okay, the most important part is understanding like how this whole transcript thing will work. The HTML part is obviously a little bit weird for people who don't know HTML, but if you understand what I'm doing though, then it shouldn't be too bad. Okay, so I think actually this might be okay with the for each. I know one time I tried to use for each with promises, but it was giving me some issue. So seems like there's no issue right now though. All right, so this should fix up the icons, and as you can see, I don't know why the icon is null for that. Oh yeah, because we don't have a server icon. Okay. All right, cool. So you can see we have all the messages in that channel. We have hi, which is sent on October 29th, and we have the last message, which was over here, and you can see. And if I go over to Intellectual Developers, my Discord server, and let me just find a channel that doesn't have too many messages. I think this is okay. All right, so let me just jump, and let's just refresh. So you can see that it changes. We have intellectual developers, and we have all of our messages. Okay. Yeah. So that's pretty much it with the whole transcript command. Like I said, this whole HTML stuff is gonna be weird if you don't really know how to work with the DOM API. But like I said, I'm gonna leave a link in the description to the code so you can just copy and paste it. But try to at least understand, the whole what I was doing here. Because like I said, it's a little bit weird. I know, because, especially coming from someone who's never really worked too much with the DOM API. But yeah, like I said, hopefully you guys understand how this whole transcript thing works. And you can use this to create, HTML files dynamically, and it will have it'll basically simulate like an actual, chat log basically. So you can save it, and yeah. So hopefully you guys understand how this works. You can use it for your ticket bots. And yeah, like I said, I'll leave a link in the description. So make sure you check the description. There'll be a link to my GitHub repository to show you guys how. Well, not show you, but it'll have the code for here, and you can just play around with it, modify it to fit your needs. And yeah, also one more thing I will mention is make sure you join my Discord server. And if you have any questions about coding, programming, anything related to my videos, or just anything that's programming related, you can come over here and ask questions. Always active, so if you need any help, just feel free. And I will see you guys in my next video. Peace.